या यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतम् मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यभिमः योगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततन्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। Verse 22. वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि. So, yatha means just as. This is an example. Tatha means what is illustrated. Yatha is illustration. And the illustration is used here of a cloth, very beautiful. More you think, more you will find this is an appropriate example. And well, the first thing is the cloth is which covers the body. And it is in Sanskritam it is called vasas. So it has been formed from the root vas. Vas means vas achadane, to cover. So that which covers is called cloth. That which covers the body is called cloth. So just as the cloth covers the body, same way body covers the Atma. That's how it is. And body covers the Atma means, Swamiji, Atma is all pervading. How can the body covers? Body covers the indweller as such. Indweller. Like the pot covers the space. Same way, so now there is an indwelling space in the pot. Even though space is all pervading, one, still you will find that basically as the pot is created, you will find an indwelling space which is called pot space. Same way, the all pervading consciousness, when it is available, when it obtains in the body, we call it as a dehi. So body as though covers the jiva. Body as though covers the jiva, and just as the cloth covers the body, body covers as though covers the jiva. So this is an example, and we found there are many ways it is. There are similarities between the two, because the cloth also, the cloth and the body are having a tadatmya dhyasa. Tadatmya Adhyasa means cloth is taken for the body and body is taken for the cloth. Both things are there. And I have given you, of course, example last time that there's, the cloth, when a person wears especially the winter cloths, then you find, even though you are seeing just a cloth, but you say the person is coming. So that shows that cloth and person has become as though one. And then this same way body and consciousness as though become one. So body is taken for the Atma, Atma is taken for the body. So that way also example is very much true. Then the third thing is the attributes of the cloth is always superimposed upon the body. That's also is there. So that's called Dharmadhyasa. So just as the attributes of the cloth superimpose upon the body, then same way the attributes of the body superimpose upon the Atma. That also is there. And for that there is one beautiful story. I mean, in a certain city there was a poet was very philosophical and he very renowned. But he was not a rich man, and so he led a very simple life. A very wealthy businessman also was living in that city, and he was getting his daughter married in a very 7-star hotel, and with a great pomp and grandeur. So he invited poet also to attend the wedding alongside other prominent businessmen also. And on the day of wedding, the businessman and his family were personally receiving the guest at the lobby of the hotel. And they were all, directing all the guests towards the wedding venue. When all the wealthy people who had come were decked up and wearing very expensive clothes. And so this businessman, he was taking inside to the wedding venue. This poet also came. But this poet, 1 minute. So the poet also arrived dressed in a very simple, non-expensive cloth. And he was also waited in one corner, thinking that someone will approach him. But forget about the approaching. No one even acknowledged his presence. Even this businessman who had invited this poet did not pay any attention and pretended as if he had not seen him. The poet quietly walked away. He understood immediately what is the situation. So he just walked away and went to a close-by shop where he could, hire some good clothes. And he chose a very high-end, very expensive clothes, very elegant dress, and then he wore it. And he himself looked in the shop itself in the mirror. And he was very impressed by this transformed royal look. And afterwards, with this regal, look, this poet came back to the hotel and then he was given a very grand welcome. And he was shown a very great respect and by his friend, his businessman friend, and he was praised also. His dressing sense and everything was very much praised. And after introducing, that poet was introduced to all the guests which were there. And then he was this businessman led him to the dining area while, still praising his poetry also. Now he has started praising the poetry, his maturity, his wisdom. And he made the poet sit in a very prominent place in the dining area. And the poet was served in a very expensive, fine crockery and cutlery, and then the businessman, lovingly served the very delicious meal to the poet with his own hands. And then something strange happened. Instead of eating the meal, this poet started dipping the corner of his coat in the soup. And also then he took a little, the rice, prepared rice. He sprinkled that part of this fancy rice preparation on his trouser. And addressing his clothes, he said, "This is a feast for you, my dear clothes. So you guys should enjoy it." And all the guests were so surprised at this weird behavior and finding this bizarre. Then this businessman asked, "What are you doing, sir? Why under the sun would your clothes want to eat?" Poet quickly and very calmly replied, "My dear friend, I am astonished that you are asking me this question. Aren't you the same person who conveniently ignored me when I arrived here, dressed up in a very simple clothes? I think my dress has a value more than me." So this is, could you follow? I am saying what I am saying is, so and then so it has been said here that we are accepted more for what we wear than what we are. In Hindi there is a very beautiful thing. People who know Hindi, for them, and then I will translate it. They say, "जरा सी जेब कट गई, सिक्कों से ज़्यादा रिश्ते गिर गए." Means when our pocket, which is full of coins, money I mean, when it gets little torn off and the coins started dropping it, then as the coins, more than the coins dropped, our relations have dropped, because we are not having any value. What we possess, that only has a value. Our money has a value, not any other thing has a value. So what I was saying is, this cloth and the person has a tadatmya dhyasa. That's what I told you yesterday also, where what you wear, so you are looked upon by what you wear. This is how it is. And therefore, definitely this is between the cloth and this body, there is a tadatmya dhyasa. Then attributes of the cloth is superimposed upon the person, that is the body, and afterwards any other superimposition is possible. And therefore, same way, even Atma also and this Sharira, between them also there is a tadatmya dhyasa, and the attributes of the body are superimposed upon the Atma, which is an indweller of the body. And then indweller is called here Dehi. But we should understand one thing. We should give we should always understand, because Bhagavan is going to use this word often. Dehi means indweller. And therefore, whenever the word indweller comes, it gives a sense of a limited Atma, a limited consciousness. And well, there is no problem in that. We should always understand this kind of an expression through the example of pot and pot space. Like the pots will come and go, but all the pot space will always be there, because there is only one space. And therefore, the same way, these bodies etc. also, like the pot, they come and go. The indweller is like a pot space. Well, pot spaces will always remain, because there is a space alone, and this space from the angle of a pot is looked upon as a pot space. There is no real pot space, you should know very well. So pots come and go. Pot space doesn't come and go. Pot space, because there is no pot space as such, there is only space which is all pervading, which cannot come and go. And the same way, this indweller of the body, well, ultimately it is just a consciousness, and therefore it cannot come and go. I mean, it survives the body. So the idea here is, either way, Atma is Nityam, it does not die, it always keeps on going. So far as if you consider as a Jiva, well, it keeps on going, but in reality, basically it is Atma. And therefore, when a person understands that there is no Jiva, then Jivatvam dies away, not the Jiva dies away, because Jiva is nothing but ultimately a consciousness. It's the part space as though suppose you part space as, with respect to part and part space, you understand the body and consciousness. Don't elongate further. Just a minute. So this is how, even when the Jivatvam dies away, the Jiva doesn't die. Only the notion dies. I am a Jiva, that dies away. If suppose a space has a notion that I am a part space, well, when the part goes, basically part space so-called merges into the one space alone, and therefore that notion dies away. When the part dies away, the notion dies away. I am a part space. Well, that notion dies away. Really, there is no part space merging into the Mahakasha, the one space, big space. all pervading space. So Bhagavan wants to point out that even this body, ultimately even they come and go, well, but the Atma which is, which is indweller of the body, well, it is always Nityam. We have to keep this thing in mind because it is being connected ultimately with the Ashocha and Ashochastvam. There is no sorrow. The sorrow is born of the thinking of the death of even, our Bhishma and all thing. Ultimately, they don't die. We have to keep this thing in mind. We have to connect all the verses ultimately to that theme of the Bhagavad Gita. So, the indweller or the Dehi continues to be there. Now here certain questions has to be asked because it has been told this, Vasamsi Jirnani Athaya, just as the old clothes are given up and new clothes are taken, and same way the old bodies are given and the new ones are taken, etc., etc. So this old and new and old and new bodies, etc., what is that? We don't understand, because ultimately we see in the creation there are people who are young also and who are energetic, ambitious people, and they have a lot of plants and many irons in fire, etc. They are struck down. And so where is the question of old body like thing? That was a question. And so when old body is there, suppose someone possesses an old body, he can give it up like an old cloth and he picks up a new cloth. Same way he also, the indweller of the body, will pick up a new body. We can understand very well. Also we can understand the accidents in which because of someone's abuse or because of my carelessness or whatever, sometimes the body, it perishes. So, or someone shoots, and so someone performs a very destructive action against this body, and then suppose this all body can get ruptured and die away. That's all we understood. And yes, morning itself we have discussed this, this gross body and this subtle body. Gross body, if it is ruptured, still subtle body can stay in this gross body to an extent. And that's what we were discussing in the morning. So we will not discuss that. So there is minimum requirement on the part of the gross body to keep the subtle body in this body. So to keep the physical body alive, it has a minimum requirement that these vital organs, etc., has a minimum functioning, etc. And even the subtle body also definitely also should be in keeping with the gross body. That all we know very well. We have discussed very well in the morning. So if this gross body is ruptured because of somebody's abuse or abuse of freedom, or because of my own abuse of freedom like drinking and so smoking and whatnot, well, we can understand that the body is given up. We will not bother whether it is young or old, no problem. But however, when a young person dies and he doesn't abuse his freedom, well, somebody doesn't commit any kind of perform a destructive action against this body, and still person just goes away. Develops a certain disease and within one day it goes away. Somebody was talking me in the morning today itself that got a pneumonia, and within one day he passed away. They have gone for surfing somewhere and they came back and both husband and wife both contracted the disease, and of course both were hospitalized, but she passed away within 24 hours. Very young, 40-year-old. So this kind of a thing happens. So then this question arises when Bhagavan says Jirnani. Well, the old bodies, etc., are given up, etc. Well, that creates a doubt in our mind. What is this old body? And we have seen there are many examples I have given you yesterday also. So we have to answer this question. Jirnani, Sharirani. The old bodies are given up. What does it mean? Is it really old in age or it's something else? Well, so then we say the death of the physical body depends upon the Dehi, the indweller of the body. All responsibility goes to him. Why? If this Jiva, the indweller of the body, which is called Dehi, I may use any word, but you have to understand it is one and the same thing. I may use a Dehi, I may say Jiva, I may say Ahankara, or you should understand, ultimately it is one and the same thing. So if Jiva takes this body and a survivor of and he is a survivor of a death, well, then must be some cause which has brought this body into being. And so if you accept that there is a Dehi which survives the death of the previous body, well, then, and definitely it is going to survive even this body also, well, then this Dehi has invited the particular body. Dehi means a Jiva. And Jiva is one who survives different bodies and also undergoes various situations. Here we are talking about a very sad situation in which he has to give up the body. And before he gives up the body, he undergoes a pain also. Like a person gets a leukemia or even a pneumonia, etc. Also, they find a lot of breathing problem. So even before they give up the body, they may suffer a lot. So then who provides this suffering to this indweller? That's a question. Even before the body, they leave the body. So therefore we will have to think over this, and then there are only two conscious entities who can provide this. The provider must be a conscious entity. Either this Dehi, either this indweller of the body called Jiva, or the Ishvara. Both are conscious. And therefore either Ishvara provides this situation. So if Ishvara willed a suffering of the people, and well, then he would be called a sadist person, and definitely he requires some psychological treatment. Otherwise, why else he puts the person into a sadness? Undergoes person. He puts the particular person into such a situation, and we can see this. The person is having before they give up the body, they may have a leprosy. Person may have a syphilis. Person may have anything. Even the people who have suffered from AIDS also because of their immune, the fighting system. Fighting system, of course, is very, very becomes low, and they are susceptible to many diseases. So the person who has contracted AIDS, etc., they are vulnerable to many, many very bad situations. And so even before they give up the body, they pass through a very, 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 very problematic situations. And therefore we feel that who is giving this? Well, Ishvara gives, then definitely we should not worship such a Ishvara, because Ishvara is a provider of such situation without any cause. And seeing the people suffering and he enjoys, well, such a sadist or a tyrant Ishvara, we are not ready to accept. And we could never sing a praise in such a Lord. And well, so and not only that, we little extend also. Therefore, we need not extend, but we are extending little bit. Even without that, even without such a situation before the death, person has suffering. Well, let's leave that thing at all. And you see in general also in the creation, all the jivas, well, all the people who are embodied, they all have a very different situations, and very, very sometimes very comfortable situation or very uncomfortable situations. And some are born with a wooden spoon, and some are born with a silver spoon, and some are born with a golden spoon, and some are born with no mouth at all. Such situations are there. And so we ask then, why what is the difference between all these people who are embodied? Why they have these different situations? And generally our parents says, do not ask, don't ask. So this is how it is. So Pujya Swami is to tell us that it is a double justification. It is a double justification. First you justify what he is doing, and second justification is you are telling that don't ask such a question. By that also you are justifying his action. And therefore, well, that is this kind of a God is we don't like to praise. We don't want to confront him. We don't want to surrender to him. If he is such a sadist who provides to all the indwellers varieties of situation in which you find a very suffering of the people, then definitely he is not worshipable. One thing. But on the other hand, perhaps the explanation is that we have asked for a particular lot in life. That's how we look upon. And I'm going to explain you. So Ishvara is looked upon as an order. And order means, order means which is infallible. And that one order is called karmic order. Order with respect to karma, actions. So, and I have told you that law also when we have discussed this Nayam Hanti Na Hanyate, that Kathopanishad mantra, of course here also appeared in Bhagavad Gita. At that time we discussed Yaha ek karta saha eva bhokta. One who does action, well, he has to bear the fruit. That's a law. And that Ishvara is in that in the form of that law. And therefore, rather than blaming the Ishvara, we have to take the responsibility for what we have in terms of situations. And Bhagavan has said in the 4th chapter very beautiful thing. I mean, he has given up the responsibility. He said, Tasya kartaram apimam viddhi akartaram avyayam. Well, I am the one who has made everything. Kartaram means I am the one who is providing all the situations, good, bad, everything. And I am the one who even give the parentage. I am the one who give different situation even after the parentage. I mean after getting birth. So I am the one who is providing ultimately every situation because I have created the entire creation. And therefore whoever are created in whatever manner that I have created. And then immediately he says, well, I am not a creator. I have created everything, and then he said, I have made everything, and then he said, I have not made anything. So even I have not made you also. Well, therefore, what is this? And therefore, Puja Swami used to give an explanation in that 4th chapter. He used to tell us like this, that this is like putting our own finger into the fire and then asking the fire, did you burn me or not? Well, fire replied, yes, I burned you. Why? I did not burn you. When you say, why did you burn me? Fire says, I did not burn you. Well, you just told me that you burned me and now you say you did not burn. How can you say both? So you are blowing hot and cold. Actually, I thought you blew only hot, but now I find you blow hot and cold. What is that? Why you are doing like this? He says, look, when you struck your finger into me, I burnt. To burn is my nature, it's my svabhava, and therefore I burnt, that's correct. But I cannot say that someone has burnt. Well, so I burnt your finger because that's my nature to burn, but then I did not go after your finger. I remained in my place, you struck your finger into me and got burned. So, in other words, you asked for it. You asked for it. I did not go after your finger, you brought your finger into me. And then you are telling me, why did you burn? Because to burn is my svabhava. And therefore, since you have asked for it, you struck your finger into me and that's how it got burnt. So, well, this is the law. What is meant by this law of karma is Jiva's own karma invites a varieties of the situation, pleasurable, unpleasurable situations in the life. Swamiji, wait a minute. You mean Jiva is a bhokta? Jiva is experiencer of pleasure and pain? Yeah, Jiva is experience of pleasure. So he is bhokta? Yeah, he is a bhokta. Well, then who is karta? He is a karta. So karta and bhokta is a Jiva? Yeah, Jiva is a karta and bhokta. Who is an indweller of this body is a karta and bhokta. Okay, but there in that verse you said the mind is a karta and bhokta. We still remember you. So now please, before you go ahead, so clarify this thing. And then I said you, if you remember, mind cannot be karta and bhokta. Say, what are you telling? You're like exactly like God, you are also speaking in a contradictory things. I told you, a conscious being is a karta. Because there is one who is an agent of an action. must be a conscious being in as much as he has to choose an action. And one who chooses an action is a conscious being, cannot be inert, cannot be inert. And therefore, like the earth is moving around, he is performing an action, you may say, it is performing an action. Well, but I don't say it is performing an action. Because earth does not choose to revolve around the sun. It doesn't choose. If only human being has a choice, and one who has a choice definitely is a conscious being. It's a choice, desire of doing, etc. And well, it all rests in a human being. I mean, it rests in a conscious being. That is human being, of course. And therefore, conscious being alone can be karta. And if this conscious being is a karta, well, bhokta also he is a bhokta. And bhokta means, I told you in the morning, it is experiencer, not enjoyer as such, an experiencer of pleasure and pain. And therefore now, how can you explain, Swamiji? Mind, you said the mind has a kartrutvam and bhoktrutvam. In the entire assembly, not this physical body is a karta bhokta, and you gave a logic that basically, if the physical body does not survive even after doing action, certain actions, well, bad actions or good actions done by the physical body, considering this body as a karta, well, but it doesn't survive to experience the fruits of that action all the time. The person may perform a very bad action today and tomorrow morning he won't get up from the bed. There are instances like that. So this all kinds of things. Then who will experience that? If body has performed, body is a karta, body is, then definitely this body has to be there to experience the result of an action, but it is not. Therefore, body is not a karta. And then I told you that even the senses are not a karta; they are just instruments in helping the performance of action. That we have seen, bhoga sadhanam, etc. So you know also. Even that is in terms of experiencer, but even in terms of our organs of actions are also sadhana for getting expression, I mean for doing an action, actions. So that is how organs of action, organs of perception, well, they always help. Organs of perception, that is sense organs, basically bring the data from the world and so that I can perform the action. I gather a lot of knowledge and I gather the knowledge of even a desired object so that I can I can have a desire of that object, then I can perform the action, I can acquire that object, and so that's how the sense organs also bring the data. Organs of action also are helpful in performance of action. Then prana also is, vital air also is helpful in performance of action. It provides the energy for the action, and therefore they are not karta. Either of that is not karta, and what is left over, I told you, that is what is left over is the mind. And therefore mind must be karta and bhokta. And ultimately we know also that everything, ultimately any action is born first in the mind, with the knowledge of action, desire of action, and resolve or a will of action, decision that yes, I want to do this, well, or I am going to perform this. And therefore mind is the one where there is a resolve, and that is the karta. And of course, what is pleasure or pain also, when they enter, the objects enter through this house, ultimately whether it is pleasure or pain, that particular stamp, this is pleasure, this is pain, this is pleasure, this is pain, is the stamp is done by mind alone. And where this stamp is done, there itself this bhoktrutvam or enjoyership or experience of pleasure and pain is there. And therefore mind alone is karta and bhokta. But you said conscious being. Yeah, I am coming to that now. And therefore this consciousness, well, when it is, which is all pervading consciousness, when it gets reflected in the I thought, well, how can you, Swamiji, it gets reflected? Because I thought is like a mirror, or a mind is a mirror. But in mind also, the I thought is a mirror. Let's say, we'll specify further, and therefore I thought is a mirror. As the I thought arises, consciousness gets reflected in it, and that is how a ahankara is born. A conscious a conscious entity, but that is reflected consciousness, and this ahankara is born. And ahankara's job is to claim whatever is there. So it first claims I thought, then it claims the entire mind, because I thought is a part of the mind. So it claims the entire mind. And so whatever the attributes are there also in the mind also are claimed. And that is how ahankara claims the kartrutvam and bhoktrutvam. And that is how karta and bhokta are conscious entity. Well, correct. They are conscious entity. They are conscious on account of this reflected consciousness. And that is how, and then ahankara goes further. And then ahankara identifies with the organs of action. And ahankara identifies with the organs of perception. And everywhere. So I am a seer, etc. I am one who has, I am the one who has lifted this, or I am lifting this particular thing, etc., etc. I am the walker. Everywhere, all organs of action are covered in I sense. All organs of perception are covered in I sense. Whatever is there here inside, all is covered in I sense. Because that mind or the subtle body ultimately pervades the entire gross body, and therefore the I sense also pervades the entire. 1 minute, somebody has come. So the I sense pervades the entire gross body also, and therefore you have I sense everywhere, even in the hair. Even in the hair also there is I sense. Somebody touches your hair, you will say, why are you touching me? You don't say, why are you touching my head, or etc. You may say, but you have even if you use a different words, you have an I sense in your hair also, and you have I sense in the tip of the toes also, everywhere. That is how this gross body is covered with the I sense that is generated in I thought. And I thought becomes a conscious with a reflected consciousness. And well, when I am the Atma, all pervading consciousness, but I don't know myself. So with ignorance, I get reflected in the I thought, and therefore I take this I thought and the reflected consciousness as myself. That is called ahankara as myself. And then slowly whatever ahankara pervades, that also I called as a myself. And so I take this gross body as myself, subtle body as myself, and subtle body means mind also I take it myself, senses, everything, prana, etc. I am hungry, thirsty, etc. And therefore kartrutvam and bhoktrutvam belongs to ahankara or jiva, which is the indweller of this body. That is how it is. And so he has performed action, and he is surviving also. He survives the body. That's how it has been told here. Therefore, jirnani sharinani vihaya navani grunnati. Just as the old clothes are given up by a person and he takes a new cloth, same way the old bodies are given up and new are taken up by this indweller. Means indweller survives the death of the body. And if he survives, well, definitely whatever actions he has performed in the past life, he has to experience in the new life. Because ultimately whatever actions are performed in the previous life only will be experienced in terms of pleasure and pain who survives the death of the body. He only has to experience. And this jiva definitely survives. And therefore, basically whatever situations are occurring in one's life, well, definitely Ishvara is a provider in the different situations, but my role is there depending upon my own actions, I am inviting pleasurable and painful situations in my life. Anyway, this is okay. So that is called prarabdha karma. I have got this body depending upon my own, from my old account, from my and this prarabdha karma, which has already, some of the karmas which have already begun to fructify, they have given this body. When this prarabdha karma is over, well, this dehi, who is the indweller, leave this body. So when he leaves, definitely, now connect with the Tattva Bodha, dehi leaves, means definitely subtle body also leaves. Because the indweller of the body, that is reflected consciousness, definitely includes the medium of reflection. Reflection and the medium of reflection can never remain away from each other. Wherever the medium is, there the reflection is. But Swamiji, Jiva is Anadi. Yeah, therefore the subtle body is Anadi, subtle body is also Anadi. The gross body may die today, tomorrow, anytime. But the subtle body is definitely survives the death of gross body. And therefore, but subtle body also you said Satkarma Janyam. Yeah, I said it. So Satkarma Janyam, that's correct. But its karmas are different. But it can survive a long. Like Devatas, etc. survive a long because of their own karmas. So that is how even this subtle bodies, etc. also lives a long. And they also go, gain a resolution, etc. But that's not the question right now. I will talk about it because the pralaya, etc. it is connected with the pralaya. Anyway, so the prarabdha karma is the reason why a person or a dehi comes with a particular deha and which dies when the job for that dehi is done. So this is a decision by the dehi. Now still this is not going to, because there are still so many doubts regarding that. But Swamiji, okay, the old body, this is old body understood because his prarabdha karma is over, and therefore whatever the body, even if it is young, I will take it as that it has become old for the person who is the dehi. For that it is old. Okay, there is some doubt, but we will solve it. Now the second point. What is it that is new? The new body has arrived. What is that new body? So with reference to taking up a new body, who is to decide what is new? Well, Dehi has to decide. Dehi has decided this is old and I have to give up. Who decides the cloth is old? The person decides. Really? The person decides the cloth is old. So I will talk about it. Anyway, even who decides the car is old? The person decides. And therefore the people who have this business of renting the cars, they sometimes change the car every year. They buy a new car because to attract the customers. They always keep new cars. And so they buy a new car today and within a year they sell it off. They buy another one. They get a good price also. In India they do that like that. So the one who does this business, for that person it is new or old. Not anybody can decide. He can decide who owns the car. Same way, Dehi only who owns this body because of his karma decides what is old or what is new, etc. And sometimes what happens, this new car means new. Brand new car. Sometimes this old car which is sold by this person who does a rental business, he sells the old car. 1 year old. The one who buys for him, it is a new. He says also to others that I have bought a new car. He says that I have bought a new car. And where is it new? It is not brand new. In India, they use one word. Well, I don't know what is its meaning, but they say second-hand car. Second-hand car. But so if you ask, they will tell. Otherwise, say we have bought a new car. Oh, it is brand new, totally new. No. We have bought it from some particular sale, and therefore still they call it new. So, and some people even buy old cars, vintage cars. And they get it, they fix it up and then they fix them up and then they make it good, very good. And the oldest, and in Ahmedabad they have one Parsi gentleman has so many vintage cars, and he has now he has collected all this and made it new as such. 1910 model and 1925 model and like that kind of. And of course he doesn't drive those cars. They are just in a exhibition. And he has also opened a restaurant also along with. So people who come and visit this the car exhibition of vintage cars, and they all take even breakfast and everything there. So, and he's running a very good business. What I am saying is, even this so-called vintage car, old cars, is considered as new by this person. If it is old for that person, he would sell it off. But no, he is keeping because it is new for him. And that is how what is old, what is new is decided by the one who owns that thing. That's all it means. One who owns a particular object can decide whether it is new or old. No one can brand it, this is new or this is old. And Puja Swami used to give an example of a king of Thiruvananthapuram, in Kerala. It's a capital of Kerala. And there was a king at that time, and he used to go every day on foot to Padmanabha Swami temple in Thiruvananthapuram. And every day when he goes there, before that he wears entire new clothes. Dhoti, definitely dhoti, and then one upavastra, etc., upper cloth. But every day new, brand new, every day. And he goes there, have a darshanam of a Lord, comes back and gives it up. Gives it up. And the person who takes it, consider it as a totally new because 1 day old. And he keeps it for 1 or 2 years or something, and then he considers it old and gives it up. And there are people who are buyer for it, or there are people who take them also. And therefore, old and new is decided by the owner, definitely the owner. So similarly, here also is what is old or new has to be decided by the owner, that is Dehi, who he has owned this body. That is the result of his own earning. This body is not but the earning of this Dehi, that Jiva. And so onlooker cannot decide whether old or. So we generally, Swamiji, he was a very young person and died. And Bhagavan says, the Jirnani Sharirani Vihaya. He has given up the old body, but this person was young. So onlooker cannot decide. One who owns the body can decide. That's how it is. And so for the onlooker, the body may not be ready for death, yes, but for the Dehi, the job is done. And those who are bereaved may definitely look at a particular death as something very premature, but this is not the case from the standpoint of a Dehi, unless the death is caused by some wrong action. The abuse of free will, etc., on the part of oneself, or abuse of someone else's freedom. Then we can say because he is responsible for the death of this person, etc. Otherwise, if the person, he has not abused the freedom, he has no bad habits, suppose, and the other person also has not done any wrong action towards the person so that the body gets ruptured and the subtle body leaves out of this, nothing happened. And still the young person, I have given you example of a arterial aneurysm. That's somehow I am not able to accept it. The person is talking and he just collapsed. Very young person, 32, that person doesn't go out of my mind. He was talking and young, energetic and so healthy. He was talking like this, I am talking to you, and suddenly he collapsed. Then who will accept this? And where is the question of Jirnani, Sharirani, Vihaya, etc.? So unless one's own abuse or somebody's abused or naturally the old age, etc., if nothing is there, then still the young person lives definitely for that Dehi. Whatever job is to be done through this Deha, whatever the experiences of pleasure and pain he has to experience through this body, it is over, and therefore he lives. Even though, Swamiji, I am sorry, I am not able to accept your standpoint, because the Dehi may like to live on. Even though Dehi may like to live on, the job for which this body was taken is done. Then who decides that? Then Bhagavan decides. Bhagavan only can decide this, that the particular set of experiences of pleasure and pain which a Dehi has to enjoy, being an indweller of the body, that was done through the body. And so whether it is young or old or what it may be, and then it is over. So when it is done, when this experience is over, then the tenure of this body is over. So then whatever has to happen, has already, it has already happened. It goes. So that takes place. So the just as in in the world, the person takes on new clothes and gives up the old one. So to the one who indwells in this body, the jiva, and gives up the old body and takes it a new one. So what is meant by old bodies, now you can understand, is to be understood very properly. And then only you can resolve. Otherwise you will not be able to resolve the questions or the doubts which arise seeing in the world. Every day, even in the COVID-19, there are people who are, the young people are going away. Some of the health workers, nurses, etc., even the doctor, who are very young and energetic, well, they just leave the body. So how can we accept Swamiji this? And then don't blame anybody. Even if you want to put a responsibility, put the responsibility on the indweller. He has owned it. He decides when to give it up. But Swamiji, he has not decided. He did not want to go, but still he has gone. Yeah, but his set of karmas of pleasure and pain by getting this body, definitely this body is a resident through which we have seen in the morning, Sukha Dukkhadi Bhoga Ayatanam, and the subtle body, Sukha Dukkha Bhogadi Sadhanam, means for enjoying, experiencing pleasure and pain. Well, that's over. And that is decided by Ishvara. So sometimes you may feel that the Dehi, the indweller, wants to leave. He doesn't want to go. And his family and relatives are crying and he is also crying. He doesn't want to leave. And definitely then, Swamiji, how can we accept that this jiva decides ultimately the giving up of an old body or accepting a new body, etc. And this acceptance of a new body, etc., I am going to talk about. It's a big topic. This has been discussed in a Upanishad itself, and I am going to discuss that thing also. Before one leaves this body, definitely he sees a next body. That's a very beautiful thing. And that's discussed in a Upanishad. I am going to discuss that tomorrow. But let's finish up this part first. And even before getting a new body, he gets another body also called Yatana Shariram, etc. Well, that part also is I am going to discuss tomorrow. So how the jiva, keeps this example of a cloth is something amazing. It even applies to before he gets a new body. In between also he gets a body. There also this example of cloth applies to the body. So throughout, not for this body itself, even for getting a new body also okay, but in between also an intermittent body he is getting. Sometimes a jiva gets an intermittent body. There also the same example is applicable. Example of cloth. I don't know, Bhagavad has given a very, very just so appropriate example all the way, starting from Adhyasa, you think over, or starting from just from the standpoint of a body. This example is very, very an apt example so far as this journey of this jiva is concerned. Anyway, so for the Dehi, one who indwells, who is indwelling in this Deha, there is no death at all. And for the Deha, there is no survival. So we should know two things. For Deha, there is no survival. For the Dehi, there is no death. That's all. This is the mantra we have to keep from verse number 12 onwards to this and further. Because the cause of sorrow is ultimately this. Taking him as a one. Taking the Atma as a body. Well, you definitely think that I am subject to birth and death. Well, you are not subject to birth and death. The body is subject to birth and death. The one who indwells in the body is distinct from the body. He survives the death of the body, and therefore definitely there is no birth and death of this indweller. Definitely. But this indweller is a jiva. Then jiva also is there. Swamiji, jivatma also is there, and Paramatma also is there. No. I am jiva, that notion is there. Well, so far as that notion is there, well, I have to undergo all these things. I am the one who moves from this body is the one who has the notion that I am the jiva. That's all. Well, living in this body itself, one who drops the notion that I am jiva, well, he has not to go anywhere. That's what is discussed even in Brahma Sutra, also in this current portion also. Anyway, so very beautifully told in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Natasya pranaha utkramanti. His subtle body does not come out of this gross body. Therefore, there is no travel. Subtle body comes out, means jiva also comes out. Why they should come out? To acquire a new cloth. Well, there is no new cloth to be acquired for this person. one who has dropped the notion that I am a Jiva. And what helps Swamiji into dropping this notion? Mahavakya only helps. Mahavakya only tells that you, the individual, are nothing but the all-pervading, limitless consciousness, Brahman. And that if one understands, well, there is no Utkranti. They call it Utkranti, means there is no going away and leaving this body and old body for that person. He leaves that body and going away from this body will not. As so far as the ignorance is there, well, this will continue. Giving up the old cloths and taking up a new cloth. Giving up an old cloth, taking up a new one. This will go on and on. So far as I consider myself as a Jiva, well, it is a product of ignorance. And so in the spell of ignorance, definitely this journey will remain, which is called samsara, which is called janma and mrityu, birth and death. I mean, giving up the old, taking up the new. Now, before I go further, I just want to clarify two things. Bhagavan has used the word shariram also and dehi also. You will see that tatha sharirani vihaya jinanani anyani sanyati navani dehi. So there are two words, deha and sharira. Well, it indicates a body only, physical body. But why then Bhagavan should use two words? Because both ultimately are helpful only in understanding of this, what is the nature of the body. Well, I told you when the word deha has come before, I told you deha means dahyamanatva deha. There is a root called dah. Dah means to burn. So dahyamanatva deha, which is burnt. I mean, which has no survival, which is going to be buried, whatever you want to say. So ultimately, which is subject to cremation, is called deha. And sharira also we have seen. Sharira means which is subject to disintegration, right? And therefore, either way you look upon, either you call sharira, physical body you call sharira, either you call deha, whatever you say. The deha or sharira is a one. Well, there is no survival. I mean, it won't remain all the time. It will become old, then it perishes also, like the old cloth, etc. And then you get a new one. It also passes through the sixfold modifications and it will also disintegrate. And therefore, deha or sharira, both, even etymologically the meaning is which is subject to modification, which is subject to disintegration, which is subject to burning, I mean putting to ashes. So this is how we have to understand. So sharira, Bhagavan has used the word shariram also, and Bhagavan has used the word dehi also. Dehi means deha asyasti, and therefore deha is deha means which is subject to death, and dehi is, well, it is subject to no death, subject to no modification. We have to understand. And so deha is always subject to death, it is dying, and it is not that suddenly one fine day it dies. It keeps on dying all the time. Well, we know this, you cannot stop it. That's how we call metamorphosis, etc., in which the entire body changes. Within today and the next 12 years, or somebody says 7 years, the entire body has changed. Blood has changed and cells, all the cells have changed and everything has changed. Anyway, so it is all the time subject to death, all the time. What body I am right now having, tomorrow morning is not the same body. And day after tomorrow is not the same body. Even though, because I am the one who doesn't undergo modification along with the modification of the body, that's what I don't realize. Only person, onlooker realizes. And then onlooker addresses me as an aunt and uncle. Then I realize that now I am no more a young person. And therefore, otherwise, even that's very interesting thing is, even this boy who is studying in college and he has finished the study in college and everything, and looking for a job, and then some of his relatives who have a daughter, suppose, and now she is having age of marriage, etc. And they come to this boy's, they meet this family of this boy's father and mother. They meet and they ask for his hand. I mean, they say that your boy, why don't your boy should, marry, or your son should marry to our daughter. That time, even that's, the son, that but boy realizes that I have become mature now. Till then, he doesn't realize that from the teenage I have come to a little, I have become a little, more mature. He doesn't realize. That is how it is. And therefore, it's so beautiful that what I was as a child is the same in the youth, is the same in the adulthood, is the same in the old age. So the body is subject to change. Well, onlookers can say that, but the one who indwells him is not. Definitely so beautiful, and therefore, and he is going to survive. He is going to survive because he doesn't undergo any modification. Well, if he doesn't undergo any modification, the last modification also is not going to undergo, and that is called vinashyati. Well, he is not going to destroy. So this is a sutra should continue. That is we call anuvrutti. Anuvrutti of this particular phrase from the verse 12 should continue. The body is subject to death and is dying on the moment. The indweller of the body, that is myself, is subject to no modification, or is the one who survives the death of this body. Either way you can say. And he picks up new clothes, and then again it becomes old, and then he picks up again new clothes. And where is the question of death? Where is the question of death? Bhishma is going to die and Drona is going to die. Nobody is going to die. Nobody is going to die. Natve vaham jatunasam natvam neme janadipaha. Don't think that you are going to die, I am going to die, all are going to die. Nobody is going to die. Well, in all one consciousness, all these forms, various subtle bodies and gross bodies and everything, or even causal bodies, they just appear due to Maya. That's all. Whatever appear through the Maya is Mayikam, is not real. And therefore, definitely, I survive the death. I, the limitless consciousness, is never subject to death. And that I, limitless consciousness, from the angle of this particular body, is called Dehi. The one all-pervading consciousness and all-pervading space from the standpoint of a pot is called pot space. But there is no pot space at all. Pot gets destroyed. Pot space never destroys. Try to destroy pot space. Try. Therefore, this Dehi is one which is not subject to death. Therefore, Ashocyananda Shochastvam Prajnavadamsha Bhasasti. Don't grieve for something which doesn't deserve grief. Could you follow? This is how we have to take this formula which has been given, Ashocyananda Shochastvam. From there, we should all take it. Bhagavan is going to, up to I think verse 30, I think maybe Bhagavan is going to teach this. So there is no cause of grief in the vision of Gita Shastram. And this has a bearing upon the entire dialogue between Arjuna and Krishna. Well, we will see another connections are also there whenever time permits us. But tomorrow I will talk about this thing. And once we leave this body and acquire a new body, in between sometime a new some phenomena occurs. And what is that phenomena? I will talk to you tomorrow. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.